He kept broadcasting it like he was that nigga. Yeah, I killed Bibby. I killed Bibby. Now you in jail. Commit your I kill Bibby slogans. You know, take your time as a man.
After 5 long years, KSOO, who is already serving life in prison, finally pleaded guilty to a second murder. And mind you, KSOO is currently serving a life sentence without parole for the murder of Lil Buck. However, word on the street is that KSOO just got smoked in prison after he pled guilty. Who could be out for him? To understand what went down on February 23, 2026, you need to go back 7 years. Because this whole story starts with a 16-year-old kid named Adrian Gaynor Jr. and a rapper who was so full of himself after what he did that he basically gave prosecutors everything they needed to lock him up for the rest of his life. Adrian Gaynor Jr., known on the streets as Bibby, was a teenager from the Hilltop Village apartments on West 45th Street in Jacksonville, Florida. That area is one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the whole city. Bibby was part of KTA, which stands for Kill Them All, and he was very close to Julio Fulio. This was the same Fulio who went on to become a famous drill rapper before getting shot and killed in Tampa in 2024. Bibby was like family to Fulio. In Fulio's own words during a Vlad TV interview, Bibby was like his little twin, the kind of young boy who would come straight to Fulio every single day after getting off the school bus.
What ultimately happened with your friend Bibby?
Lil bro, he was like, that's my little twin. Like, you know, I got him tatted on my face. Like, that's my little bro, okay. One day, I was at my godmama house in the hood where we from on 45th. And every day after school, he'll come to me, like he coming straight to me.
On February 25, 2019, Bibby got off his school bus and walked into the Hilltop Village apartments to go visit a family member. He was 16 years old and was wearing a gray sweater and a burgundy shirt. He never made it inside. According to witnesses and court records, Hakeem Robinson, the Jacksonville rapper known as KSOO, chased Bibby through the apartment complex while carrying a rifle. Bibby fell to the ground, and the last thing he tried to do was cover his face and head with his hands, trying to protect himself. KSOO ran up close and shot him in the back of the head or neck. Police later found about 45 shell casings scattered from the gazebo area all the way to where Bibby's body dropped, showing exactly how far that chase went. Fulio found out the same way most people in Jacksonville did, through a phone call and then through social media.
I'd say about 15 to, I'm gonna say 20 to 25 minutes later, I get a call. A shooting just happened in Hilltop. I don't know, I'm not even thinking about him at first. I'm like, damn, because it's shit regular. Like, shootings always happen. Like, I'm like, damn. Somebody else called me. You good? Why everybody say you dead, big bro? My big brother called me. Where you at? They said you dead in Hilltop. I'm like, hell nah. I go on Facebook. A little boy just got killed in Hilltop, like 16. So I'm like, fuck. They're like, yeah, he had on a uniform or a gray sweater, burgundy shirt. I'm like, oh my God.
Bibby's father got the news from a phone call from his own mother. He rushed to the scene, but police would not let him anywhere near his son's body. A neighbor who lived upstairs offered to let him come in and look down at the scene from his window. The father eventually walked through, saw his son lying on the ground, nodded his head, and walked back out. There are no words for what that moment must have felt like. Now, any person with common sense who does something wrong knows to stay quiet about it. KSOO did the total opposite. For the 2+ years between Bibby's murder and his arrest, KSOO basically went on a non-stop social media tour where he kept putting himself at the scene. He posted photos and videos on Instagram bragging about the murder. His rap lyrics kept talking about smoking Bibby. He used Bibby's photo in his album artwork. One lyric in particular said "smoke Dirk and Bibby to the face" though, and that line was so clear that prosecutors had no problem putting it in front of a jury as proof of what he did. He even went on social media to make fun of Bibby's mother when she organized a march to call for justice for her son. And at a Young and Ace concert in Richmond, Virginia, KSOO and his cousin Leroy Whitaker showed up wearing a number 10 basketball jersey with Bibby's name on it, like a trophy. Bibby's father had been watching all of this unfold from the moment it happened. He already knew who did it. He did not need the police to tell him. He had seen the videos, heard the music, and watched KSOO paraded around like it was something to be proud of.
Did you have an idea of who did it after watching certain music videos and things of that nature? Did you
He kept broadcasting it like he was that nigga. Yeah, nigga, I killed Bibby. I killed Bibby. Shit, now you in jail. Commit your I killed Bibby slogans. You know, take your time as a man. The same way you brought.
Casey was finally arrested for Bibby's murder on March 10, 2021, more than 2 years after the shooting, and he was already sitting in jail at the time because of a completely separate case. That other case, the killing of 23-year-old Charles Lil Buck McCormick Jr., was going to go to trial first, and when that trial started, it tore the Robinson family apart in a way that nobody outside of Jacksonville was fully ready for. The Bibby case was the one KSOO bragged his way into, but the Lil Buck case was where the real damage happened, because the person who hurt KSOO the most inside that courtroom was not a rival gang member, was not a cop, and was not the getaway driver. It was his own father. Charles Lil Buck McCormick Jr. was 23 years old and affiliated with KTA when he was murdered on January 15, 2020. That morning, he went to a staffing agency at Dames Point Plaza on Merrill Road to pick up a work assignment, basically going to get a job. He walked out of the building and noticed somebody coming toward him. He turned and ran for his life. The assailant, who turned out to be KSOO, chased him with a rifle, caught up to him on the side of the building, stood right over him, and kept shooting. An off-duty police officer saw the whole getaway. The crew jumped into a stolen silver Nissan and led police on a car chase that crashed on Townsend Boulevard. After the crash, they ran into a woman's house nearby, held her down, stole some clothes to change into, and escaped in another car. Prosecutors told the jury that Lil Buck was targeted because he had put out a diss track making fun of the death of KSOO's half-brother, Willie Boss Goon Addison. Willie had been killed exactly 1 year earlier, also on January 15th, in a drive-by shooting after a rap concert. That diss track was played right there in the courtroom. In Jacksonville's drill rap scene, putting out a song making fun of somebody's dead relative is not just disrespect, it is practically a death sentence. The trial started in July 2025. The getaway driver, Dominique Butta Barner, had made a deal with prosecutors that reduced his potential life sentence down to 20 years in exchange for his testimony. He took the stand on day 3 and walked the jury through the whole plan, from how they looked up Lil Buck's home address on the Duval County Clerk website, to how they sat outside his apartment in the stolen car, to how they followed him all the way to the plaza.
What would you have to do with it?
Get rid of it.
Did Hakeem Robinson ever touch your handgun?
Yeah.
How?
He picked it up. It was like, I'm finna use this. I said, no, you're not.
So what happened when Charles McCormick came out?
Well, Hakeem jumped out.
Jumped out of what?
Jumped out of the car.
Was that the plan?
Oh, sir.
All right. How was that different from what the plan was?
Well, I came up with a plan of getting closer to his car, so when he get in the car, he could jump out of the passenger seat and shoot him as soon as he got in his vehicle. I could pull off faster.
And did he wait for Charles McCormick to get closer to his vehicle or get into the vehicle?
No.
What happened after Hakeem jumped out of the Nissan?
Shot at him.
Shot at who?
McCormick.
Did McCormick stay there?
No.
What'd he do?
He ran.
What did Hakeem Robinson do?
Chased him.
And then did what?
Killed him.
Did you see?
But the moment that truly silenced the courtroom was not Barner's testimony. It came on day 4, when Abdul Robinson Sr., KSOO's own father, known on the street as Blue, sat down in the witness chair as a government witness.
The murder of Charles McCormick, did you recognize the shooter?
Yes, sir.
Who was the shooter in that video?
Hakeem Robinson.
Your son, Hakeem Robinson.
Yes, sir.
And obviously he's your son, so you're very familiar with him.
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with his height and his build.
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with how he walks and runs.
Yes, sir.
You've seen him move in music videos.
Yes, sir.
Blue had been arrested back in September 2020 as an accessory because police said he was the one who picked the crew up after the crash and helped them get away. He eventually made his own deal with prosecutors and agreed to cooperate. When prosecutors played him the dashcam video of the shooting and asked if he recognized the shooter, Blue went quiet for a long moment, and then he answered. He did not stop there. He told the court about an Instagram story KSOO posted just days after the murder, showing himself getting a pedicure. KSOO told his father nothing. He did not deny it or explain. He said nothing. In a post-trial interview, Abdul Robinson Sr. opened up about why he made the decision to testify. He had serious health problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart failure, and kidneys that doctors told him were failing fast. He also had young children who needed him, including an 8-year-old daughter who had been waiting for her daddy-daughter dance, and twin 6-year-old boys who just wanted to go fishing and watch football games with their father. He said it was the hardest decision he ever had to make in his life. He took threats from people in the street after the testimony. He responded to those threats by saying, as a Muslim, "We love death like y'all love life." KSOO's lawyers tried to tear Blue apart on the stand, calling him basically just a sperm donor with a criminal record and pointing out that he himself had been acquitted of murders in the past. They also argued that the masked shooter in the dashcam video looked too short and too slim to be KSOO, who stands well over 6 feet tall. But a forensic expert who used 3D scanning technology and body shape analysis testified that the footage ruled out Barner and Whitaker as the shooter, while it could not rule out KSOO.
Or omissions in the filling out of the verdict form. Madam Clerk, can you please publish the verdict?
In the Circuit of the 4th Judicial Circuit in and for Duval County, Florida, case number 16-2020, CF 3601B, Division CRE. State of Florida versus Hakeem Robinson, verdict as to count 1, we the jury found the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. So say we all, done, Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida, signed by the foreperson on July 31st, 2025.
Does counsel for either the state or defense desire the jury to be polled? It's number 2020 CF 3601. The court does hereby remand you to the custody of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and your bond in this matter shall be revoked. Now, he is entitled to a pre-sentence investigation report. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay. Then I will.
On top of that, KSOO's fingerprint was found on a rifle pulled out of the crashed getaway car. His hair was found on a shirt left at the scene, and DNA connected Whitaker to the home invasion after the crash. On July 31st, 2025, both juries came back with guilty verdicts for first-degree murder for both Hakeem Robinson and Leroy Whitaker Jr. On October 1st, 2025, the judge handed down life sentences without the possibility of parole for both men. That is the only sentence Florida allows for first-degree murder. Lil Buck's mother, Yolanda Perkins, stood up in court and talked about her son, the kind of person he was, how he had memorized parts of the Bible, and the emptiness he left behind. She urged the community to stop glorifying violent music. That same day, KSOO's brother, Abdul Robinson Jr., was sentenced to 12 years as an accessory, and in November 2025, Abdul Robinson Sr. was sentenced to time served, meaning the 1,898 days he had already spent locked up counted as his punishment, plus probation. He apologized to the McCormick family before he walked out of that courtroom. So by the time 2026 rolled around, KSOO was serving life. His father had walked free after testifying against him. His brother was behind bars. His cousin was behind bars. And the Bibby case was still sitting there waiting on him. And then February came. By February 2026, KSOO had been locked up for close to 5 years. He was already carrying a life sentence for Lil Buck. The Bibby case, which went all the way back to that February 2019 killing of a 16-year-old boy, had been dragging through the court system for years. It kept getting pushed back because of legal arguments from the defense, questions about the evidence, and the simple fact that trying one person for 2 separate murders with the same witnesses involved is a complicated thing to organize. But by 2026, there was really no path to a different outcome at trial. Prosecutors had everything they needed. They had social media posts where KSOO bragged about killing Bibi. They had the rap lyrics with Bibi's name in them. They had the concert footage. They had witness accounts. They had the physical evidence. And on top of everything else, they had a father who had already stood up in a murder trial and pointed at his own son on the witness stand. Taking this to trial would have just cost money and time for a result everybody already knew was coming. KSOO and his lawyers understood that. On February 23, 2026, exactly 7 years to the day of Adrian Gaynor Jr. was shot and killed, Hakeem Robinson walked into court and pled guilty to second-degree murder.
And this would state that KSOO entered a plea of guilty to the following crime: murder in the second degree. Now, what this means is KSOO was already sentenced to life, as everyone knows. His father testified, a couple people testified. KSOO and Scotty got sentenced to life for a different murder when they killed dude outside of the little job application he was applying for.
Judge Tatiana Salvador sentenced KSOO to 10 years in prison for the Bibi murder, with credit for 1,811 days he had already spent sitting in the county jail, followed by 5 years of probation.
By 5 years of probation. So it's a split sentence, 10 in, 5 out, totaling out to 15 years for a second-degree murder, which is an amazing deal, I'm not gonna lie. Not only that, he would get credit for 1,811 days that he's already spent incarcerated in the county jail. So let's look up how much time that actually is. So he would actually get just under 5 years in credit, meaning he has just over 5 years to serve on this murder, and it'll be done. And then it's just followed by 5 years of probation, and that's literally it.
3 days after the sentencing, on February 26, 2026, KSOO showed up on Instagram for the first time since September 2025. His first post after receiving a second conviction was not about the case, was not about his appeal, and was not about the people he lost along the way. He posted a preview of some new music on Triller, along with a caption that said everything about where his mind was at. "This the life I chose. I ain't runnin' from none." The video drop-in when at Big Bagged Head get 20K followers. Hashtag, I'm waiting on my daddy to die. That hashtag, I'm waiting on my daddy to die, spread across X and Instagram within hours. People were shocked, and not just because he was posting from prison. The shock was that after 2 murders, after a life sentence, after everything that happened in those courtrooms, the very first thing on KSOO's mind was his father. Boosie Badazz reacted on X and said simply, "What has this world came to, your own flesh and blood?" Some people in the comments were saying free KSOO. Others could not get past the image of a man publicly wishing death on a father who had stood on a witness stand and cried, who had talked about missing his little daughter's dance recital and wanting to go fishing with his young sons. The whole argument about snitching and street code started flying around in the comments, the same argument that has been going on in Jacksonville for years as this feud kept pulling more and more people into courtrooms and graveyards. What made the post land even harder was that KSOO had already let some of that pain out in a song called Thoughts, where he rapped, "My daddy ripped my heart out." As for Blue, before this specific hashtag ever came out, he had already said what he needed to say in his Vlad TV interview. He was not running from what he did. He said directly to the family of the victim, "I would like to show my respect to the victim's family. I sincerely apologize for my part in their grief." He took the threats, held his ground, and went home to his younger children. The bigger picture here is the full ATK versus KTA war that has been going on since around 2017 and has taken more than a dozen young lives. It started with the drive-by killing of Fulio's cousin Zion Brown in 2017, then the ambush on Young and Ace in 2018 that killed his brother and 2 other people, then Willie Addison, then Bibi, then Lil Buck, and eventually Fulio himself, who was hit with over 100 bullets in a Tampa hotel parking lot on the night of his 26th birthday in June 2024. Every single one of those deaths had a diss track attached to it, a music video, a post that got millions of views while somebody's mother was picking out a casket. Songs like Young and Ace's Who I Smoke and Fulio's When I See You turned real murders into entertainment. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office used those very videos as evidence in court. Mothers of the dead had to sit and watch their children's names get shouted in songs with tens of millions of plays. And the people in those videos ended up watching those same videos get played in front of juries who then sent them to prison for life. KSOO is sitting in a Florida prison right now carrying a life sentence for Lil Buck with the Bibby conviction sitting on top of it. Any appeal he might try to file is realistically not going to go anywhere for decades. And after all of that, the very first thing he chose to put out into the world was a hashtag from a jail cell saying he is waiting for his father to die. That is what all of this came down to. Do you think KSOO's father's testimony was betrayal? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this one. See you in the next one.